Hello, everybody. My name is Celeste, specifically Celeste Dragon, and I'm here because I have a bunch of projects coming up, and I wanted to introduce myself to everyone and kind of give a brief background. Kind of dealing with my background right now. So, I'm planning to do a bunch of anime reviews, possibly game reviews in the future, but mostly anime. Anime is by far something that I'm super passionate about. It's kind of always been that way. So, to give a brief understanding, I obviously grew up in the early anime era, Pokemon and Digimon, obviously, and Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, and of course things that, at the time we weren't sure if they were anime or not. We had like Reboot and Code Lyoko. Then we had the Adult Swim and the like sci-fi anime block. So I grew up with that. I grew up mostly living with my grandparents, and they didn't really care what I watched. My parents were far more strict whenever it came to that, though. What gave me this idea is I have someone that I have watched on YouTube for quite some time called Bennett the Sage, and they would give their opinions on anime. And they started doing newer stuff. But the thing is that I just kind of want to have moments where I don't have to have a script, where I can just be who I am and express my feelings, and then you can comment or message me with yours. I want to reach out to people that also have a passion for this. I plan to do a little anime podcast. The way it's supposed to work is we exchange anime. I give you an anime that you possibly haven't seen. You give me an anime that I haven't. I actually plan a collaboration soon with a friend where I gave them Made in Abyss. They gave me King of Thorns, the movie. And so we're going to talk about that and kind of talk over how we see it, because obviously it was different times that we experience these things. I have a group that I'm part of, my Star Sisters, who I'm planning to do individual, like, long-term anime reviews with. But this is kind of what I want to do. In between my scripted anime reviews that I do plan, my first one will be about Takopi's Original Sin and Goodnight Poon Poon. This, however, is different. Like I said, this is kind of me just expressing myself, and I don't know that it's going to be completely coherent, but this is who I am. I personally love anime so much. It helped me make a bunch of friends, although it did pull me away from a bunch of them. In high school, we had an anime club, and I was the main contributor, and I ended up getting a little upset because they said I didn't contribute enough to be part of, like, the president, vice president, secretary group, when I was the one contributing all of the manga and more than, like, 85% of the anime they watched. So it just kind of hurt, and I ended up cutting ties because I didn't feel appreciated by that group. And it's totally fine, because I've found other people in my life that have actually, like, helped me and appreciate my passion for this. So, as I said, I grew up with the times when we weren't even sure exactly what we were going to call it. It was anime, but, like, what was anime? So I grew up Pokemon, Digimon, some Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched, like, the original One Piece from 4Kids. And I still sing the pirate rap every so often, which drives my partner crazy. I watched the original, like, card captors where they tried to make it a shonen for whatever reason, and they changed Escaflowne. Around middle school, I ended up meeting a friend that actually had, like, stuff from Japan, so I was able to see some of the Card Captors episodes that were not allowed, like the one where Shaoran ends up as the princess and Sakura ends up as the prince in the school play, and it was absolutely adorable to me. I also discovered Fruits Basket back then. I remember staying over at my friend's house and literally staying up all night while she was asleep to watch the whole thing because I just couldn't stop. I watched Fushigi Yugi completely in Japanese because we didn't have the ending to it yet. There were no subtitles. I just kind of went by vibes. My first actual subtitled thing that I had was Sailor Moon Super S, the movie. I remember that I got it from Suncoast Video, and it was amazing to me because, like, why is Rainy a Sailor Scout? Why? Who are these people? Because we were in, like, season R, where Chibiusa Rainy was, like, still being a little brat, like, non-stop. So, I ended up finding that I just loved all this. I discovered stuff like Excel Saga at Blockbuster, along with, like, I got the original Hellsing DVDs on sale. And it was just something amazing to me that, you know, there was a different culture that also found some of this stuff as interesting as I did, and I could find all these things. So I'll admit that I watch mostly shoujo, but I've recently gotten into watching like a lot of seinen and shonen stuff. I've watched like all of Natsume's Book of Friends because I read that back when, and like Nana, I love Nana. Even if it was never finished in the manga, I felt like the anime was spectacular. I actually read Nana back when it was in Shoujo Beat. I don't even know if Shoujo Beat exists anymore. I know Shonen Jump does. I remember I had Shoujo Beat because it had pink and blue pages instead of black and white to appeal to girls. Like, that's what they thought they had to do. It was a very weird time. So, like, a lot of the things I ended up getting, half of them were for adult content type stuff, not necessarily, like, pornographic, but it was like the episode with Yoko Kurama actually had blood and cursing in it. But then half of the VHSs that you found for Yu Hakusho were cut down. Like I said, I grew up with the original 4Kids One Piece for a long time, and I will always appreciate that they ended up going through Skypiea and then having them fall down, and that was the last episode. They just all died. That was the canon. In our heads. Because we had no idea what was going on. Unless we read the manga. And then you had to have money. We were kids, we didn't have money. But I watched some of the Dragon Ball stuff and things like that. I actually convinced my current partner to like start watching One Piece with me in return for me to watch Dragon Ball with them. Because I never watched all of it. And of course we gave up on the One Piece thing pretty quick because like they don't want to go through all 1,100 episodes. But they gave it a shot. I'm going to be doing an entire long review for that series eventually though. But I just want to have an understanding with people that you don't have to go and argue to create a bond with people. You can have completely differing opinions. And I feel like the issue with the Crunchyroll Awards this year has kind of brought out a negativity in the anime community. In the fact that I feel like a lot of people think that anime is being made more for a worldwide audience, which if you look at it, was One Piece really made specifically for people in Japan? Because it doesn't feel like it. Dragon Ball Z was literally based on Journey to the West, a Chinese novel. So, how do you explain to someone that hasn't been in this community long, like, no, it hasn't changed? If anything, in my opinion, it's become more like Japanese centric because we can understand the culture more. We have ways of reaching out or looking up, like, hey, why would they do this? Nana, they have the whole thing of Sachiko. Like, why does that name bother her? It's like sun child or whatever. I can't quite remember. They do explain it. As I said, this isn't scripted, so I admit that I do not have it currently looked up. I will correct myself in my next video. I apologize. I'm here to have fun with everyone. I want to express my opinions and learn yours, even if they're different. I want to find people as passionate as I am. It doesn't have to be an argument. I will concede that I see a lot of things with rose-colored glasses going in, especially with things like One Piece, because I've watched it so long. I think it's Stockholm Syndrome at this point. But everyone has things like that. For some people it's games, for some people it's music. In my world, in my life, it's always been anime. I actually remember the moment that I realized that anime can bring people together. It was when I had started living with my parents. We didn't always get along that well, if I'm being perfectly honest. And like, that's pretty normal because I was like a teen. But we rented Princess Mononoke from Blockbuster. And I remember it was the first time that my mom and dad were willing to sit down with me for this 2-hour movie. And we just sat there together as a family and enjoyed it. And like, actually, my mom got like super into Ghibli stuff after that. I remember she would steal my DVD of Spirited Away to watch while she fell asleep. And it's a weird feeling that knowing, like, maybe you don't get along with someone, but you can have this in common. And maybe you don't, dislike them as much as you thought. Maybe y'all have more in common. Maybe you could actually be friends. You never know. Like, yeah, you're gonna have differing opinions on stuff. Again, I much prefer stuff like shoujo, and I feel like the line between shoujo and like shonen and seinen is definitely not the same as it used to be. But what do you think? Again, I have a podcast thing I want to start. If you want to reach out and try and be part of that, I'd be more than happy to hear from you. I do live streams over on Twitch. I do discuss anime every so often. I mostly play Elden Ring, but I do plan to play more like anime themed games soon. And I plan for some long form videos as well if you'd like to collaborate on something with that. Or if you just want to leave a comment or message me and we can have a discussion. I'm fine with that too, because I'm here to meet new people and form a community that loves things and is willing to express that openly. So feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll have more stuff soon. Maybe not all unscripted like this, but I like this format because I feel like I'm being completely honest with you about what I'm telling you. And I feel like that's important if you're going to have people come watch you. So, I hope to see you next time, and let's have fun watching anime.